We are less than a day away from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and new updates surrounding the game continue to surface, including an odd update to Final Fantasy VII Remake, an update to the save transfer feature from Final Fantasy VII Remake to Rebirth, a dive into the legendary music composer of the Final Fantasy series and his future creating Final Fantasy music, an update into other potential Final Fantasy remakes, and much more. We've got a lot to cover in the final update to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth before the game launches, but before we get into that, let's first go over the winner of the Final Fantasy VII Digital Deluxe Edition giveaway that we've had going on for the past several months. A big congratulations to Ulysses C for being the winner of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Digital Deluxe Edition giveaway. This giveaway had an incredible turnout, yielding some of the highest numbers I've seen across the giveaways we've done over the years. So for everyone who participated, thank you all so much for your interest in the giveaway, and I look forward to seeing you all test your luck again in the future. With that said, let me know in the comments what upcoming games you'd like to see featured in a giveaway, and I will do my best to accommodate that. In a few days, I will launch my Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance giveaway, so stay tuned to test your luck in future giveaways very soon. And with that out of the way, let's get on with the good stuff. After nearly 4 years of waiting for this game, we can finally say that we are but mere hours away until we can play one of the most critically acclaimed Final Fantasy games ever made. Rebirth, being a direct follow-up to Final Fantasy VII Remake and serving as the second chapter in a 3-part Final Fantasy VII Remake saga, the developers knew that giving players some sort of bonus for playing Final Fantasy VII Remake was important and served as a way of saying thank you to those who played the previous game. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth game director Naoki Hamaguchi recently sat down for an interview with the folks over at Kinda Funny to discuss the development of the game, including a segment explaining some of the benefits of having a Final Fantasy VII Remake save file in your system while you play through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Months ago, we knew that there was not going to be a file transfer feature in which we could import all our progress with our characters from Final Fantasy VII Remake into Rebirth, but we recently learned that we could obtain 2 summon materia from Final Fantasy VII Remake with a save file present. Those who have a save file of Final Fantasy VII Remake are entitled to the Leviathan summon materia, and those with a save file in Yuffie's Final Fantasy VII Remake Episode Intermission DLC chapter will receive the Rama summon materia. In addition to these 2 summon materias, Hamaguchi-san, in the interview with Kinda Funny, revealed additional information pertaining to seeing certain progress made from a Final Fantasy VII Remake save file appearing in Rebirth. While the 2 aforementioned summon materias are tangible rewards for having a save file from the previous game, Hamaguchi-san revealed that players may notice small things from player progression in the previous game appearing subtly throughout Rebirth, including the number of weapons you collected in Remake across your characters appearing at Johnny's Inn in Costa del Sol, for example. Hamaguchi explains that subtle things like this are sprinkled throughout Rebirth, so be sure to keep an eye out for obscure things like this if you happen to have a save file from Remake on your PS5. I definitely expect to see a decked out armory of weapons at Johnny's Inn at Costa del Sol, but yeah, I'm curious to see the extent at which our progress from Remake will appear throughout the length of Rebirth. Definitely an awesome feature, without a doubt. Speaking of Final Fantasy VII Remake, a recent patch just updated that game, which I'm sure some fans will be outraged by. This pertains to Tifa's outfit during the Nibelheim flashback cutscene that played in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and this patch basically updates her clothes to match the outfit that she sports during Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's more fleshed out and playable Nibelheim flashback, in which she sported the cowboy outfit. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, her clothes in the flashback are nearly identical, with the only change being that she has a black undershirt that covers her cleavage, and this patch retroactively made it so that her appearance in the previous game achieves parity with her updated look in Rebirth. This patch has definitely stirred up quite the commotion, but regardless of what your stance is on censorship, and whether you would even define this case as such, I think it's best not to get salty over seeing less cleavage on a 15-year-old Tifa, and rather just celebrate that we have an incredible design for her as an adult here in Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, along with excellent designs for the rest of the cast. That's just my 2 cents. This update also changes a tiny bit of dialogue from Aerith at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake regarding her remarks as she exits Midgar and is presented with the vast expanses away from the city. Her line, "I miss it, the steel sky," has been changed to "this sky, I don't like it," and was done, again like Tifa's change, to achieve parity with the same scene playing out in Rebirth. Moving on from that, we have an update that longtime Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu doesn't believe that he will score an entire game soundtrack again. Uematsu-san joined Square back in 1986 and composed every Final Fantasy soundtrack from Final Fantasy I all the way through Final Fantasy IX, and while he has enjoyed writing the soundtracks for Final Fantasy and a number of other games from Square, he'd like to shift his focus on his other projects he's working on, more specifically his band, Uematsu Nobuo Kontiki. As far as Final Fantasy is concerned, I'm still involved by writing the main themes for the games, remarked Uematsu-san. But I don't think I'll compose music for a whole game again. You would have to give it full throttle for 2 or 3 years, and I don't think I have the physical and mental strength to do it anymore. If Rebirth does reflect Uematsu-san's last work with Final Fantasy, it represents, according to critics, one of the greatest soundtracks ever composed for the franchise, incorporating a number of new compositions aside familiar melodies that perfectly recreate the iconic soundscape of Final Fantasy VII. For those who played the earlier Final Fantasy games, which soundtracks are your favorite? In the previous video, we went into the incredible diversity of minigames on offer in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and from a recent press release from game director Naoki Yamaguchi, we have an idea of just how many minigames we are likely to encounter. We've included close to 30 minigames in this title, explains Hamaguchi. Some may be minigames that can be played throughout the course of the entire game. Others may be one-offs that are specific to a certain singular quest, and others may be games that you can play within a particular region within the world map. There are also a variety of minigames included, and for these ones, like Queen's Blood, these are meant for players to play throughout the entire game. Queen's Blood, a card game, has been a major side activity that a number of reviewers greatly enjoyed about Rebirth, not only for its addictive gameplay, but also for its unique questline. Hamaguchi-san states that players will dive into the backstory of how this card game came to be, along with its role and presence it takes in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Can't wait to experience these minigames in a matter of hours, but with that said, which minigames are you all looking forward to most in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Let me know in the comments. In Hamaguchi-san's interview with Kinda Funny, Hamaguchi-san was presented the question about what kinds of Final Fantasy games he'd like to see remade, and when pitched the idea of Final Fantasy VI to get a remake, he laughed and remarked that the project would take an incredibly long time to remake, something that Final Fantasy producer Yoshinori Kitase also said. When asked about a potential Final Fantasy X remake, Hamaguchi-san remarked that he would love to see that game happen, so long as he is not in charge of remaking that game. This is a sentiment that we have heard from Hamaguchi-san in the past, as he also disclosed that he would love to see a Final Fantasy VIII remake, so long as he wasn't at the helm of the project, with Yoshinori Kitase expressing a number of things that he would do differently with a Final Fantasy VIII remake if that project were to be greenlit. We headed deep into that discussion here in this video, and definitely let me know which Final Fantasy games you'd like to see get a remake next. Again, enjoy Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for those picking up the game at launch, and I'll see you real soon with more Final Fantasy content and beyond real soon.